Okay, 1830, good luck. We've not played before, there's no head-to-head score there. But that's 6,000 games of rapid, that's a lot. Now e3 is more fashionable these days to challenge the early d4, but I'm just going to play the traditional reti. Okay, take, so we check. Just aiming to collect our pawn back. Knight up, the standard main move is actually knight forward, and queen up and bishop up are the two main replies. Okay, goes with the bishop, so we'll take and we'll collect our pawn. Then pawn up and bishop up is normal, knight up, or indeed pawn up there. So black can actually force an endgame here. I could play knight up, but your queen can get into difficulty if comes under attack, so I'm just going to develop and bishop up. Okay, so now we can go here. We threaten to take the knight and break the pawn structure up. Opponents allowed it, so we can go into an endgame. Black's going to have a broken up pawn structure. Okay, so I'm happy to trade. Now I'm going to just push this pawn up one now, because obviously these pawns are going to start rolling forward, so I'll try and develop before I advance too far. My pawns come under attack. Knight up, I'm not sure what that's aiming for. Maybe the pawn down the board, but do I want to bring the knight to the king's side is a question. Might make sense actually, just in case. Gives me a lot of flexibility where to put the knight from the center, so I think f3 is where I'm aiming at. Yeah, if I go here I don't particularly see what I'm getting. Go f3, now find a square for the bishop somewhere, then activate the rook. Then I'll try and chuck these pawns down the board potentially and get to the king, so I'm not worried about that. So I think I just develop and go here. And now trying to activate my rook. If it comes down now I'll simply take. Okay, so now I have to decide if I'm going to push forward and kick that knight. Here I simply take, so the knight will have to go backwards, so I'm going to do that. But I've got no... Oh, that's got to be a mistake, surely. I mean, I just take and collect a pawn, and I can plant the bishop. I was expecting the knight to go here. So I might as well take a free pawn. Now I can just plant my bishop, stop the black pawn from pushing. I mean, I can activate a rook with a tempo on this pawn as well, otherwise this is a potential move. So I think if I go h4, it makes sense to me. My bishop is perfectly secure, pawn down and then just take, so I'm going to do that. And I'm going to look to activate the rook. Okay, bishop down, so still look to activate the rook, just hit the pawn. And maybe get on the light square, bring my other rook across. So here, helps to guard against this pawn push. Okay, I don't want to play too quickly. I think my opponent's played the opening a bit too quick here. I'm just trying to play, common sense moves, keep it simple. So develop the other rook, put more pressure on the pawn. If it comes forward, there's a risk that the rook might get trapped. All of this pawn would be loose. So have I got rook up with a view to going forward? Rook down, bishop down. So I might need a number of moves. I might not be able to trap the rook. I can potentially go here. I can potentially just play bishop back and then 3 attack. That makes sense to me. 3 attack, 2 defend. Do you try and defend with a king? If you go here, then b4 is a move. If you go here, b4 is also a move. I'll just clear the arrows, get my cursor off the board. So b4 is the obvious move here. It seems relatively risk-free to me. Then I'm threatening to simply capture a pawn, probably with the bishop. Yeah, you can't take because of the pin, so I'm playing b4. Threatening, probably bishop takes, and we'll try and get the bishop off, but it would allow the pawn to come across. And then you've suddenly got a nice cluster of pawns, but we're still going to be up a few pawns, so it makes sense. Oh, well, now you're in a pin. It's got to be the bishop, surely, because then I'm threatening. Well, I'm not really threatening to gain anything. Rook back doesn't really win anything, but here, if I take here, you can't take with a pawn. So yeah, I'm going to go with a bishop. I'll happily get the bishop and the rooks off if I get a chance. Okay, so we can get a rook off as well. And if you don't trade the rook, we're going to win another pawn. Now we hit 2 there. You've really got to step across. So I think pawn up to solidify makes sense to me. I could go here immediately and see if you actually defend. Actually, yeah, that might be a good move. You've got to bring your rook across to defend. Then I can just take my time. I can try and activate my king. I've got this at some point. But I think just bringing my king up makes sense. I could do a move like f4 to try and get to this pawn, but try and get my king right across. Or maybe f3 and king behind the pawns. Just king up, king across. Slowly and steadily does it. Oh, that's a pawn. So I'll take with check and I can guard this one. Yeah, just guard the pawn. Still aim to bring the king up. But with 3 pawns up now. You just clear the arrows. Get my cursor off the board so I can't do any accidental slips. Rook down. What's the target? That doesn't really gain a great deal, I don't think. So I think I should just stick with my plan and just bring the king across, get it more centralized. Could come forward. Obviously the rook could start potentially getting active at some point at the right moment. Not right now, of course, but at the right moment. So if I keep my king guarding my back pawns, then all my structure is intact. I could try and do something like this. 2 for 1, it will still be good, but then this pawn gets active. Do I go up 1 or 2? I think I should maybe go here, just to avoid the check. I've still got flexibility of moves. If the rook wanders off somewhere, I can then push this pawn. We're going to get at least another pawn, or we'll get the rooks and pawns off the board, and that's completely winning. So, maybe this is winning, but if I wander off too far, my pawns might get loose. So pawn up here, king up here. I need 3 moves to get there. But 1, 2, if I push up here across, suddenly things are getting a little bit loose. So pawn up could be good. I think I'm going to go here first and then pawn up if the rook wanders off. In principle anyway. I'm not in any rush, just trying to win the game, not win it quickly. Oh, rook across. But now I think I've got pawn up with a view to coming forward. That's not really... actually, no, that is a 1 move threat in it. Pawn up here, check and you win this. So that's a 1 move threat. Maybe it's time to activate my rook from behind and go after this then. Here, I just simply drop back. There's no threat whatsoever. So I'm threatening to go here, get the rook off the board, and then it's an easy win. Now, where else are you going to go now? You're going to have to move the king, and I'm going after this. Or I think I am. Yeah, gone back. So I think I've just simply got rook across here. I could go here first to hit this pawn. Yeah, then you might have to come back this way. Rook across. I think it makes sense actually. I think I go here first just to hit this pawn. Drag the king back and then come across. Well, I've gone with the rook there. Okay, but now the rook's kind of a bit stuck, so I could even just start running here potentially, but I'm going to stick to plan and go for this one. Then I've got an outside passed pawn, which is protected. So black, if you go here, I simply check and trade the rook, completely winning. So king comes forward. So we take. Now black's going to have to target this pawn. So can I defend it? Or do I just do this and this? That looks completely winning to me. So I'm going here to come across. So we step over. Pawn for pawn, very good. Then we've got 2 outside pawns. So we just guard this one. If the king wanders off, we just run this pawn. Otherwise we can step forward. No danger to my king whatsoever here, so I'm just going to run the pawn up the board. Okay, comes forward. I think I can just check now. Well, mind you, the king goes here. It's still risk-free, so maybe I check forwards. You go here, then just check. Yeah, that's going to be the cleanest, I think. If you block, just check. Give up the outside pawns to clean up here. And there's no risk to my king. I've still got this nice chain. So if I take here, rook down. If I push this first, it can come down, can't it? So if I take rook down, I can just go here and I've got 3 pawns. Yeah, everything's winning, just run the pawns up the board. Just start marching everything. Get the rook back so I can come across if this king wanders back into play. Just simply check. So push my pawn. So come back. Now push this one. I should probably slow down a little bit here because I've got plenty of time, but it's just basic technique. No, I can go here or I can give up the outer pawn. So king across, am I losing this? Well, see, I don't want to give up my rook for free. King across, check, I go here. That's a target. I think I'll just go here. The king can't get to my rook and I'm going to push the other pawn up. Now I can block a check. Yeah, I think my opponent just played that a little bit too quickly in the opening. I've got to be careful of stalemates here, mind, but the king has got 1 square there, so it's not a stalemate right now. So king here, rook across. Rook across, you can maybe go here, check. If you come across, I can then push. How do I do this? I'm going to go here just to stop the king coming forward here. As long as the king's got 1 square, then a rook sack doesn't work. So now I come here and threaten checkmate. Now I think I can push again. The king's got at least 1 square. Is that good technique though? I mean, I can simply play the king here, I think, and then with a view to pushing. Actually, that looks good. As long as the king can somehow move somewhere, then the rook sack doesn't work. So the king has moved, so why can't I just push my pawn now? Again, the king's got at least 1 square. If you take the rook, I just take with a check and queen. I'm hitting the rook as well. So now I think I can just step forward here. Again, the king's got at least 1 square, so a rook sack doesn't work. Okay, so now I can maybe just bring the rook all the way around the board and that has to be winning. I could probably just step forward here and that's going to be winning as well, but I don't want to mess things up. Actually, it might be better that if king goes forward here, is there any defense? The king's got a square, so there's definitely no rook sack draw. If you check, I just queen. That's probably clean enough. So if we analyze the rook in principle doing this, I don't think I actually need to, do I? The king can move, then just step forward and queen. It looks clean to me. I'm down to 2 minutes, so at least I've managed my time well for this game. So the king's still got 1 square to move to, so no rook sack is a stalemate. So it goes there. So now if I queen, you take, I take. The king's got at least 1 square, it's no stalemate, so I'm going to queen. You just have to make sure that king's got 1 square just so there's no attacking the rook and the king can't move and suddenly you've blundered a draw. Okay, now I can obviously push. The king's got a square. That's a check. So I've just got to be careful here. Come back queen and the king can't actually move, so that would be a draw. So I can check here first. The king can move. I think check here first makes sense. It's all about just avoiding a draw now. So if I go here, you've got a choice. Oh, my opponent just resigns there, yeah, because I'm just taking my time to make sure I don't blunder it, so we get a good win.